So it's like an open wound, like I was saying earlier, that's consistently bleeding. It's consistently bleeding. Sooner or later, someone is going to have to attend to that wound so that that wound can heal. And from that healing, you move forward. And of course, you look back like any wound on your body. There's a scar there, and that scar represents the experience. It represents the experience. And so you move forward and you learn from the experience, and you learn how to move forward and how not to repeat the same cycle. As the clip showed, I'm going to cover a very serious subject that a lot of people don't like to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it because it has affected my life tremendously. And when I say that it has affected my life tremendously, that doesn't imply that I'm still currently suffering from the effects of that. Okay. You know, just like the subject, the title says, there can be no forgiveness without resolve. A lot of people that I've discussed this with, especially people in the religious community, as plain and logical and simple as that statement is, a lot of people still find issues of understanding this. Now, it says, there can be no forgiveness without resolve. Now, when they read the title, I'm basically implying when I say there can be no forgiveness, it means that there is no way that forgiveness can take place. And then it says there can be no forgiveness. Then it says without resolve. Now, many people in the religious community, especially you Christians, y'all always say, well, if you don't forgive others, then God is not going to forgive you. Okay. I recognize blackmail when I hear it. Okay, so that doesn't mean anything to me. Doesn't mean anything to me. Okay? Because the issue with this subject is, and it's going to be a lengthy video, so to get comfortable, because I'm going to be talking about this for a minute because I have a whole lot of subjects to cover. And if you are not interested, move on. That's just the way it is. But what it is that what I've noticed is that people who we refer to as elders have a problem with taking accountability for what they have done in the past to their own children and others in their life. So they feel that once they get of age, and therefore once they get old, and simply because they are your mother, your father, whatever the case may be, they feel as though, in spite of everything that they have said and done to you, that was disrespectful, immoral, inhuman, inhumane, etc., that you are supposed to just look past that, look past those things that have harmed you in the past that still has you bleeding on the inside because you're looking at this individual and you're wondering, why did my father, why did my mother treat me as such when I did not do anything to provoke such behavior towards me? And so many instances, when you bring this to them, due to the fact that they feel as though they don't owe you an explanation on why they said certain things and why they did certain things, they feel as though you're supposed to just move on. You're supposed to get past that. And as a whole lot of them always try to use the excuse of, you're holding on to the past. You need to let all that stuff go. You're holding on to the past. Anytime someone comes to you who have not done anything to provoke any type of ill feelings or ill behavior towards them, due to the fact that they are curious of what they did, because according to them, they haven't done anything to warrant such behavior, such language towards them. Due to the fact that their curiosity that is given by the same creator that y'all always talk about, they are going to start trying to inquire to those who mistreated them. Why did you say these certain things to me? Why did you do these certain things to me? I would like to know why, so that I can start healing on the inside, just in case I did something wrong, which provoked your thoughts, which provoked your behavior towards me. I would like to know what I've done, because to my understanding, when I recollect on the things that I've said and done, for some reason, I just can't find where I did something which justifies your actions and your words towards me. Can you please tell me what I've done? Now, a lot of these parents, when they use that excuse, you're holding on to the past, because I have an older sister who spews that poison. But if you notice, the main people who are always accusing you and others of holding on to the past are the primary ones who have done all of the wickedness in the past. And so when you come to them and you try to find out what you did, they will rather not go back into the past, because they know themselves you didn't do anything to deserve that. And then when you come to them and you ask them, what's your problem? And those narcissists, because that's pretty much all they are, they'll say, why you asking me? Ain't nothing wrong with me. And see, anytime and any human being can look in the eyes of another human being and say, there is nothing wrong with me, there's a whole lot's wrong with you. If that can come out of your mouth, because there's not a human being on this planet that is flawless. No human being on this planet that is flawless. So it's really not you that's holding on to the past. You're actually trying to heal that open wound that is bleeding on the inside, that was inflicted in what they say is the past. But with you, it's very much present, because you're still curious, you're still in pain, And the only thing that you're trying to do, as the clip said, you're trying to attend to this bleeding wound that you're suffering on the inside so that you can heal and so that we can all move on. But those who tell you that you are holding on to the past, in their refusal to talk about it so that we can resolve these issues, it is them who are holding on to the past because they don't want to take accountability, because they are so ugly on the inside. They themselves cannot bear to look at themselves. That's all it is. They don't want to look at themselves. And so whenever you try to look, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this, because the only way that I'm ever going to forgive you, there has to be some resolve. Let's get together and talk about this. Are you able to look at what you've done? Which affected me, or I'm just speaking in general. Are you able to look at yourself and see the wrong that you've done? Let's sit down and let me explain to you about what you said and what you did and how it affected me in such a manner that I'm walking around here in pain. And when a person is walking around in pain, what that does, that alters their character and it filters down to their personality. It makes them sad. It makes them angry. It makes them bitter. It makes them rigid. It makes them hostile to others because there's a lot of hostility going on inside of them because they have people in their lives that are doing harm to them by not putting forth the effort of sitting down, talking about these issues that need to be resolved so that you can move on. The worst crime that a parent can do to their child is refusing to resolve their issues. And then, of course, when you get to a certain age, they say, you grown. So why are you worried about those things? And you look at these people and you're like, what the hell happened to you? What happened to you? What happened in your past that made you this way? Please explain to me, because it sounds like that I've got some other beefs with some people, because I just need to know what has made you the monster that you are today. I mean, even if those who have helped created you are dead and gone, I at least need to know who created this Frankenstein before me, that think that he or she is just going to be using me as a punching bag for the rest of my days. Sooner or later, someone has to attend to that open wound. They're just trying to attend to the open wound so that forgiveness can manifest. Now, as I said before, how people say, if you don't forgive others, then God won't forgive you. Who cares? You understand? Because it has to be a harmonious agreement to sit down and let's talk about these things. Now, even if you are revealed as the one that was just dead wrong about what you said and what you did, why can't you just take accountability for that? Why can't you just take accountability for that so that we can move on? So that I can love you enough so that when you do get into your latter years, I can be there for you. But when these parents and these so-called elders refuse to address the issue, and they keep that same mentality going, which implies, I don't give a damn how you feel. I'm mama, I'm daddy. And so simply because I'm the parents, whatever I said and did was correct. No, that's not right at all. And this is one of the reasons why I have never disrespected neither one of my sons. And that doesn't imply that I'm looking forward to my sons taking care of me. No, it's just that I suffered two very vicious and internally violent and narcissistic type parents who are just downright wicked. Wicked. You understand? And that is the worst type of violence that you can do towards somebody who was born and imbued with an instinctive love sitting up inside of them that they really can't get rid of. So we're gonna love you anyway, but we're not gonna love the way that you treat us. And so a lot of parents have not established this love and honor that this book talks about, that we're supposed to bow down to. Because see, if you don't establish that love, that honor and respect towards your children, and it's going to go in opposition of the instinctive love that that child has inside of you, and you're going to cause them to suffer. And so this child is going to continue to suffer because they have an instinctive love sitting up inside of you, but your treatment towards them goes in opposition of that pure love that God put inside of them for you. And this is what causes you to be called an abusive parent. That's what you are. So if you do not sit down and talk, tell me why. Were you abused? You know, what the hell happened to you? What happened to you? Because I can't forgive you until we sit down and we put everything on the table and let's talk about this. And even if your reasons for mistreating your children is wrong, take accountability for that. At least let them know that. Well, I had an abusive father. I had an abusive father. Whatever the case may be, these children need to know why you have been such a problem in their life. Now, here you come. Your organism is starting to break down. Your strength is decreasing and everything. And now you're afraid. And now here you come. Now you want to be this perfect parent, and you've got all this love on the inside, but now you're wondering why your kids can't respond in that natural way to where their arms are open towards you in order to help make your latter years pleasant. It's only because you have not made their years pleasant. And so that's the law of karma. What you put in the universe, you're gonna get back. And it doesn't discriminate. It does not discriminate. When you invest good in the universe, you're gonna get good in return. If you invest evil in the universe, now pay close attention to this, the universe is going to reward you with good based upon justice in the universe which most people would determine is evil. I'm hoping that understood. I'm hoping that's understood. Because if you invest good in the universe, then you're going to get good in return. If you invest evil in the universe deals with justice. And so the universe is going to do good by rewarding you what is good, okay, based upon divine principle, which most people would consider evil when they see it. And they're like, wow, she or he is really suffering. Where are their children? Where are the people who love them? They're gone. And the majority of the time, it was them who saw to it that during times as such are no longer around. It's because of something that they've done. So before you, what y'all always say, judge and attack others for what you feel they should be doing and what you figure that they're not doing, why don't you sit down and talk to these people and ask them why? How come you're not doing this? How come you're not looking out after your parents? It's because they're not able to. Because there's a bleeding wound on the inside. And what inspires that level of love and dedication is when you sit down and you have discussions with your children and you resolve those issues. And when those issues are resolved and healing takes place, then that inspires you to look after your parents during their latter years or their ending times. Now, what that does to the child, if they're not able to do that because of unresolved issues, you're still doing damage to them because of the instinctive love inside of them. They wish that they had it in them to be there for you during those times, but it's not there. It's not inside of them because you didn't put it there. You didn't establish that to go in harmony with their instinctive love on the inside. And so now that you're passing on and you're going on about your business, whether you go to heaven or hell or wherever the hell you're going to go, you're still leaving them with open wounds because you refuse to be accountable for your actions. The only way that we're able to get past what happened in the past, we have to sit down and we have to resolve our differences so that love can flourish. Now, if you're dealing with parents that refuse to do that, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Let's talk about this whole this concept that's in the Bible, where it talks about the sea of forgetfulness. I was talking to one of my brothers, Brother Josh, not too long ago, and we were talking about that. And logically and even spiritually, the Bible talks about this place, this area. Okay, rather of course we're talking symbolically. This area is called the sea of forgetfulness, of where the Creator takes all of your flaws and everything, and it places everything there into a seed of forgetfulness. Me, I'm like, okay, if you can point to an area physically, or if you can refer to an area symbolically that is titled the Sea of Forgetfulness, we're talking about a containment here. So what is contained within the Sea of Forgetfulness? Your flaws, everything that you've done in the past. Well, it sounds like to me nothing has been forgotten, because there's still a containment there, an area. Oh, what's in there, God? Oh, that's the Sea of Forgetfulness. Really? Well, if you've forgotten all of these things, why does it even exist? That's my point. So I bring all of that up is, if you have these type of parents or friends or whatever area that is related to the subject, where you have people in your life who absolutely refuse to assist you in resolving these matters so that you can stop bleeding on the inside. Now, I'm not talking about walking around angry and sad all the time. I'm talking about issues that have been unresolved. If you have anyone in your life that refuses to help you get past these issues with them, and yet they still want to be in your life actively, but you can we sit down and talk about these things, because these things happen, these things affected me, let's talk about these things. And if they refuse to talk about those things, this is when the reality of letting go comes into play for you. Now, the Christian says forgiveness is not actually for them. Forgiveness is for you. No, there's a big distinction between forgiveness and letting go. See, forgiveness is basically what I'm trying to get people to understand, that needs to manifest by way of sitting down and resolving our issues, and we can come to an understanding. But totally saying, okay, I'm taking responsibility for my own pain. So the same as someone coming to you and they say, David, put your hand out. I put my hand out. They put a piece of hot coal in my hand. And I start like, what is this? They, tell me, it's a hot coal. Why did you do that to me? Because I'm wicked and I knew this was going to hurt you. But what is your responsibility? Well, this hurts. Of course it does. It's supposed to hurt. That was my intention, was to hurt you. But what are you going to do? Are you going to hold on to it, or are you going to let it go? So whatever's you're holding on to, that is hurting you, and the person who put it there is not willing to take accountability for resolving that issue, but they know within themselves that I was the one who put that piece of hot coal in his hand. Yeah, you can blame me for that. You can blame me for that. But if you choose to hold on to it, you can't blame that person anymore. You have to blame yourself. So that's when what the Christian thinks they're talking about. Forgiveness is for you. No, letting go is for you. Some people, you just got to let them go. You know that song that Snoop Dogg says, you have to drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. He's not talking about an measurement of time, a process of you deciding to drop it. He said, drop it like it's hot. Somebody put something hot in your hand. The moment your internal intelligence recognizes that it's hot, instinctively, you drop it. He's not talking about thinking about dropping it. He's talking about your instinctive love for self. Drop it. Because instinctive, you're going to drop it. Because of the pain triggers to the mind. Let this go. This is going to hurt you. This is hurting you. Let it go. That's the point. So when my father came out here to Las Vegas, after 32 years of him and I not seeing each other in person, he told me over the phone that when years ago, when he went to my grandfather's funeral, he looked inside of his casket, and he said that when he looked at my grandfather, he said, my God, that's David. Because as I said before, me and my grandfather favor a lot. Now, my uncle Gerald, who I was telling you about, whenever I talk to Gerald on the phone, all I hear is my granddad. So I got my granddad's looks, but my uncle Gerald, he's got his voice. Shout out to my uncle Gerald. So when he came out here, I was telling my kid's mother that I really don't want to deal with this man, because by me knowing how he is, you know, he's a Christian. Well, he used to be a pastor. And so he comes out here with his wife. He got a room at the job that I was in currently, the Rio. And so I was able to get them a big discount on their room, because I'm an employee there. And so after meeting him in person again for after 32 years of not seeing him in person, opened up the door. He's standing there, and I walked in, and he hugged me. Now, let me see. This was back in 2014. So this is, I think I was 49 or 50 at the time. Now, that was the first time my father ever hugged me, you know, really hugged me. However, after 32 years of not seeing your son, that's fine, you know. And so, you know, this is one of the reasons why I've always wondered what actually happened to him that has made him this way. But sitting down there talking to him, you know, trying to catch up with everything, you know, he's asking me about his family. This was before he met both of my sons. And so we're sitting there talking, and his wife was watching us. just out of the blue, he said, well, you know, them boys, yours is bastards because you and Tammy wasn't married. And I'm like, where did all of this come from? Why does my sons have to be bastards? You know, and this was one of the reasons why I was telling my son's mother, I really don't want to deal with this man, because you can't have a conversation with him without him eventually saying something that's going to be offensive. So I'm like, my son's nobody's bastard, you know? And you know, let's deal with that subject for a second. See, in the religious world, that concept filters in just about every area of religion, whether it's Christianity, Catholicism, or even Islam, that this whole thing of sex before marriage, this whole thing. When it is time for a human being to be born into this world, in spite of the circumstances, when it is their time to come into this world to fulfill their individual purpose on the planet, conception is going to take place. It's going to take place. And so, according to religion, if two people are not married legally, then they are living a life that is illegal according to scripture, religious principles, religious doctrine. Therefore, any child that is spoken into the womb of that woman by God is considered by religion a child that is illegitimate. So you're telling me that a God that all of you agree that is legitimate is participating in something that it deems that is wrong, which is fornication. It's participating in something that it condemns, which is fornication, to speak life into this woman's womb, to create a human being that, according to you, it deems illegitimate, simply because those two are not married legally. So how can a God that you claim that is legit speak illegitimacy into the womb of a woman for this child can manifest and is supposed to live its life in according to righteousness in terms of its service to this divine God? Please explain that to me. So according to religion, if the parents are married, then they are considered legitimate in the eyes of this creator, and therefore everyone else in the religious world. However, if these people are not married, then the child is considered illegitimate and therefore a bastard. So the whole thing is this: if the parents are married and the creator speaks life into this woman's womb and they give birth to these children are considered legitimate because the parents were married. So what happens to the status of the children if the marriage goes into divorce? Explain that to me. Do the status of the children, do they become demoted to being illegitimate and bastards because of the status of the marriage demoting to divorce? Explain that to me. And then they say, no, the children are considered bastards. And then when you ask them why, because when they were born, their parents were married. Okay. That's an excuse. It's not logical. But how is it that the status of the children is, their status of value is based upon the status of the marriage? It's based upon the status of the marriage. Now, if their substance and value is based upon the status of the marriage, and if the status of the marriage is demoted to divorce, how is it that why is it, how is it that the status of the marriage is demoted to divorce, but the status of the children doesn't change when the status of the marriage, the status of the children was based upon the status of the marriage? And see, this is the reason why. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. This is the reason why I tell a lot of couples, and I don't really care what you think I'm advocating, okay? Because not everybody want to get married. Not everybody wants to get married. The whole thing is, there is no child spoken into the womb of a woman that is illegitimate simply because their parents are not married. That child is legitimate because the Creator saw fit to speak this child into the world to serve a divine purpose. That's all that matters. It's about time and purpose. It's not about the status of a marriage. Well, if your parents are born, if your parents are married, then you cool. But if your parents are not married, then you're illegitimate. You're a bastard. Anybody who actually accepts that madness are just as sick as the person who cultivated that madness. My sons are nobody's bastards, simply because me and their mother wasn't married. But people who think as such, to me, those are the illegitimate people of the world. Those are the bastards. People who think like that a child has no real substance simply because their parents were not married. Anybody who thinks like that, it's you that are the bastards. It's you that are the illegitimate ones. So you mean to tell me that these beautiful children who are running around here just as innocent, they're not bothering nobody? They didn't have any um, um, say so on how they got here because they wasn't here. Why do they have to pay for the status of the parents based upon religious doctrine? So with all of that being said, I'm looking at this man and I'm like, where is all this coming from? Where the hell did that come from? And so people say, well, he's a pastor. I don't care. I don't care. My sons are nobody's bastards. And how can you say that about your own grandsons that you haven't even met them yet, and they got to be bastards? So I said to myself, I'm like, wow, after 32 years of not seeing this man in person, my sons, who he have not even met yet, they got to be bastards. So as him and I was talking, I was started maneuvering the conversation to what happened between us that caused such a rift to the degree that we haven't seen each other in person in 32 years, because I have always been curious of what made this man the way he was. And so I was trying to maneuver it to find out who my grandfather was on his side that made him the way that he is towards me. And so he sensed that and he said, well, I know that back in the day, you probably thought that I was the worst person in the world. But, had I not done that, you wouldn't be the man who you are today. Absolute bullshit. Okay? No, I'm the man that I am in spite of what you did to me. In spite of that. It amazes me how when they abuse you and disrespect you, and then after so many years, they see that you survived their madness. Now they want to take credit. They want to take credit. No. And so, as time went on, I find out that a young man who used to help him pastor his church is now out here in Las Vegas. And he had an appointment to go to his church, to preach in his church. So it all comes out that he, in fact, did not come out here to Las Vegas to resolve our differences. He came out here primarily so that he can go to this young man's church and preach and make his money and go on back home. So I'm not going to go into a lot of the details, but when he met my my sons, it explained a lot of things to them because of the way they came out looking and everything. Because my dad is, if he was to be standing across the street, you would actually think he's a European, because he's very, very bright skinned, very bright skinned. He's actually European complexion. I mean, he looks like a black man with white skin, you know, because um, my great granddad on his side was European and Indian mixed. So I'm not going to go into that because I really don't know that a whole lot about his family. And so I believe it was 2 days later, we end up going down there to this young man's church who he wanted me to join, which I didn't. So he gets up there, me, my son's mother, both my sons, and my youngest son's girlfriend went to listen to him preach. He couldn't get on stage without taking little shots at me. I mean, even had my kid's mother looking over at me like, why is he doing it? You know? And so I'm looking over at her. I'm like, so you notice that, right? And I'm like, so this is why you came out here. And so after that, he went into the pastor's office. But you know, earlier we were in there and he was introducing us to his student. But after all of that was over and he was done preaching, went to the pastor's office. I go in there. Him and his wife had a renter car that they let me use to go and pick up my family to bring them there. So I go into the office. My sons are standing outside the office. And for some reason, these pastors have this closed door policy now. And they have these guys standing out there like they're the FOI from the Nation of Islam, standing outside their office, standing there. And I'm like, so I go in there. He gives me the keys to the car. He said, go ahead and take them home and meet us at your job. So I'm the type of man, I'm not going to tell another man what he should do. I'm not going to tell another man what he should do. But all the time that he was out here, I was closely observing him. Because not only because of who he is and what he was to me, but because of the whole so-called bastard statement. So I was watching him very close, because when it comes to my kids, man, I will fucking kill you. Daddy, mama, grandmama, Jesus, I will fucking kill you if you hurt my children in any way. So I was watching him very closely. Now, what I noticed that after he preached, he didn't greet my sons at all. And so when I went into the office and he gave me the keys and told me to drop them off and meet him at the office, like I said, I'm not the type of man that's going to remind you of what I think you should be doing. So I didn't say to him, aren't you going to say goodbye to Deshaun and Dylan? You know, aren't you going to establish a little moment with them and say, hey, look, I really enjoyed meeting you. I love you guys. I'm your granddad. Please stay in touch. I live in Chicago. I know we live far away from one another, so there's no telling when the next time we're going to see one another. But you have my number. Call me anytime. Anytime you want to talk, call me anytime. His wife, when we were over there at their their mother's place, she got their phone numbers to call them. Okay? So he didn't establish, I'll put it like this, he didn't plant a seed in neither one of my sons in terms of cultivating a relationship with them between grandsons and grandfather. I'm not going to encourage it. You want to know why? Because of the things that you said and you did to me. I'm damn sure not going to encourage it. So I'm not going to remind you. I'm not going to suggest, hey, Daddy, you want to. And so I went out the office and I told my family, come on, y'all, let's go. Drop y'all off. I need to drop y'all off so that I can meet them at my job, so I can give them this rental car so that they can get to the airport. So when we all got in the car, I stopped and I bought everybody something to eat, and then I dropped them off. And so after that, I met him at the job. I transferred the keys to him, and that was it. So 2 days later, my oldest son asked me, how's granddad doing? And I told him, oh, he's back home. And so he looked at me, he said, he's gone? I'm like, yeah. I said, he left 2 days ago. He left 2 days ago. So what I'm saying is, he never said goodbye to his grandsons. So it's like when I looked at my son, after I told him he left 2 days ago, my son was like looking like, what, really? I'm like, yeah. And so I wasn't going to stand there and allow my son to dwell in that. So I'm like, but y'all do have his numbers, right? He said, yeah. I said, so, just stay in touch with him. So I find out that you didn't come out here to resolve your differences with me. It was only so that you can preach. My bastard, my sons had to be called bastards. So we go, hear you preach with your white suit like you Mr. Big Time. And then you don't even say goodbye to my sons. And then when Father's Day comes up, he's wondering why I don't never hear from them. How come I don't never hear from them? I said, because they don't know you. Then he tells me, he asked me, how those boys doing? I'm like, they fine. You let them know that my number is still the same. Don't you have their number? Why don't you call them? I said, you didn't even say goodbye to them. I said, you have to establish a relationship with your grandsons. You have to establish that. I'm not going to establish it, because if it's up to me, it'll never happen. But I'm not going to be an impediment between you and them. I'm not going to tell them, don't call him. Don't have anything to do with him. I never told them that. And if I intended on telling them that, he definitely beat me to the punch with that, because he didn't say goodbye to them and he never calls them. This is why I didn't want him coming out here, because the only thing that he was going to do is continue slashing wounds and reopening wounds due to the fact that he's still the same motherfucker that he's been all of my damn life. He's still the same. And so now he reached out a little bit and he pinched even my seeds by not even saying goodbye to them. And so this is why I tell a lot of people, there can be no forgiveness unless we resolve our differences. And when you have parents who refuse to take accountability for their actions, that is the most wicked type of parent that you can have, because both of my parents are the same way. They can do no wrong. They can do no wrong. Even my mother. I talk to her and I try to get her to talk about certain things. And then you tell her how certain things was wrong. I had a videotape of my oldest son being born, and I was going to edit it and I was going to show it to him when he got 21 years old. When I was out in Sacramento, California, trying to start a new life out there, my mother was married. But every time I turn around, her and my sister was always in my pocket. And so my mother called me one time, after I gave her some footage to hold for me, because for some reason, my sister all of a sudden said that she didn't have any room left to hold a box of VHS tapes. And I didn't go out there with a lot of stuff anyway. So what are you talking about? And so since my mother was one of the people in the family who holds on to things like important footage and pictures and things like that, I told my mother, I said, Mama, are you able to hold this footage for me? Because Becky asserts that she doesn't have enough room. She said, okay. So she figured, obviously, that she was going to be able to get certain things out of me because she contained that footage that she knew was important to me. And so she calls me. Now, mind you, this is a woman with a husband, an active husband. This is someone who she's living with. She says, I need $50. And I told her, I said, Mom, how am I going to start a life out here in Sacramento, California, if every time I turn around, you and Becky is in my pocket? Okay? I don't have money like that to continue to just keep giving to everybody, because they are the type of wicked women to where as long as they feel as though you have something that they can benefit from in terms of money, they're friendly to you, so-called friendly to you, in a very deceptive way, because they're really not friendly at all. It's all a farce to try to use you and extract money out of you. So I told her that I can't do it right now because I'm trying to establish a life out here. She tells me, you know that footage that you gave me of Deshaun being born? We're talking about her grandson. She said, I'm going to throw it in the trash. She says, gone, throwing it in the trash. So simply because I didn't give her $50, my words, I did not refuse to give her $50. I didn't have the $50 to give her. So simply because I did not give her the $50, my son now can't see at 21 when he came into the world. And this is your grandson, supposedly your grandson. What did my son do to you? Nothing. Do nothing. This is a woman who had a husband currently. She currently had a husband. And simply because I didn't give her $50 that she could have easily got from her husband, which is I'm not responsible for you. Your husband is responsible for you. That's why he's called your husband. Ask him for your $50. So she throws the footage in the trash because I didn't give her $50. And that enraged me. Because as far as I'm concerned, you taking something from my son. You know what I'm saying? You taking something from him that is very important. You taking, imagine seeing the very moment that you came into the world. Imagine that. And your grandmother took that from you because your father wasn't able to give your grandmother $50. Now, when you have people like this in your life, where every time you come in contact with them, they got some evil and vindictive, they just wicked people. Now here they come. I'm old. Now this organism is slowing down. This organism is breaking down. And now, regardless of what I've done in the past, I'm your mama, I'm your daddy. You're supposed to take care of me. Absolutely not. Until we sit down and we talk about the evil that you've done, I'm giving you a chance to talk about this. Where did this evil come from? Because I know it didn't come from any actions of myself. I want to know why. Now, when you have parents that are narcissists, because I know I'm not the only person that's suffering this. And actually, I'm not suffering it. I'm just sharing this with everyone. Don't worry about this whole forgiveness principle. Just let go. Let them go. Because if they're not going to cooperate along with you in order to resolve this issue, then you are responsible for relieving your own pain. You let it go. You drop that like it's hot and you leave them be. You leave them be. So if they don't cooperate with you, see, because your intentions is not to, as folks say, judge and condemn. Your intention is to heal the situation so that everyone can move forward. That's all you're trying to do. That's all I'm trying to do, is move forward. Heal the situation. Like I was talking to my mother last week, and she was asking me, how come my nephew, Shannon, don't talk to her? And I'm like, why don't you call him and ask him? Because some of the things that he told me, believe me, you need to talk to him. And people do that a whole lot nowadays. Instead of talking directly to the person, they want to hide behind someone else and say, why do you think this person is not speaking to me? Number one, you know the reason why this person is not speaking to you. You know this person, the reason why this person has let you go. You're just trying to be deceptive, trying to question this person just in case this person heard something. I heard a lot. I heard a whole lot of things, but I'm not helping you. It's not the way I roll. So what they do is they find out that the people who worked along with them during those times of wickedness are nowhere to be found right now. Now those people don't want to be bothered. And so now you're by yourself, and who is it that you find yourself reaching out to? The primary people that you abused. You want to know why you're reaching out to them? It's because you know that these people got good hearts. You know that. That is the reason why you felt as though you can talk to them any way you want to, throw them in the street randomly for absolutely no reason. See, that's another thing people don't want to talk about. The reason why wicked people seek to hurt people that they know are good-hearted people is because they know that they're good-hearted people, and they know that they are not going to have to worry about any type of physical retaliation. But the only time that it could cultivate to these people wanting to do something to you physically is when they reach out to you and you refuse to help them stop bleeding on the inside. And so for them to say, well, I'm not going to allow them to turn me in to the type of monster that someone turned them into. Because see, the only way that you will become a monster is if you hold on to that hot coal. And that is burning into your soul, and you're like, gotta let it go. Because if you hold on to it, the same way a hot piece of coal is going to alter your hand and change it forever, it's going to do the same thing to you internally if you do not let it go. And a lot of people put you in a position to where you are in danger of being internally altered through their refusal of resolving these issues. And so that's another form. That's another way that they attack you, by not talking about the issues. No, I don't have nothing to say. That's how a narcissist works. So guess what you have to do for yourself? If you want peace of mind, you have to let it go. If you're dealing with some people that refuse to talk about the issues, know from David and others who will tell you either the same thing or the similar thing. It is not because of you. It is because they are not able to look at themselves. They can't look at the evil that they've committed towards you, because as time goes on, the way that the universe and the creator deals with them is when the creator sends enlightenment into the universe, and the universe imbues enlightenment inside of their minds. And one day or evening, they wake up and they realize the wrong that they've done. They realize the wrong that they've done. And then the battle within them begins. Oh, I know what I've done was wrong, and I feel bad about it. So the battle is within yourself, the ego, the so-called self-preservation? Are you able to get on the phone or go to them and say, you know, what I did was wrong? Are we able to talk about it? Can you come by and, you know, are we able to talk about these things? Because I know that what I did to you, that was just dead wrong. So are we able to sit down and talk about these things and resolve our issues so that will put me in the position to ask you to forgive me? And that will put you in the position to where you are able to forgive me so that you may not let me go. That's the point. That's the point. If you do not want your children to let you go, and if you have wronged them, if you do not want them to let you go, get rid of the ego and go to them. Get out of that narcissist mentality. Go to your children, go to your friend, go to your sister, go to your brother, whoever. Go to your son, go to your daughter, go to your grandchild, whoever you have wronged. If you want them to forgive you and not let you go to them. Even if you have to beg them, get on your knees and beg them then. Get rid of that ego, the narcissist attitude. Get rid of it, because it's going to just keep you enslaved. And through your enslavement, they're going to keep bleeding on the inside. And that's not fair to them. So get over yourself. Get over yourself. That's the point. You need to get over yourself. Just because you're a parent, it don't mean you're right all the time. And just because you're a parent, that don't mean that your children are responsible for taking care of you after you get a certain age. If you want your children to be inspired to help preserve your life and make your latter years very pleasant, you have to establish that through the years leading up to your latter years. Okay? It boils down to one thing: instinctive love and established love. If you want to, like I just got through saying, if you want your latter years to be pleasant and filled with love, you have to plant that during the years leading up to your old age by the way that you treat your children and everyone in your life. Because simply because you're a parent or a grandparent or whatever the case may be, that don't mean you deserve that. That don't mean that people are owe you any respect or any level of love or anything. You have to establish that by way of your relationship with people. You have to do that. But a lot of parents feel, well, I'm the mom, I'm the daddy, so you supposed to. No, I ain't supposed to do nothing. I ain't supposed to do nothing. I know not with David. If you disrespect me, you can go straight to hell. I don't care who you are. And if I give you the opportunity to talk about it, you better know. You better take that opportunity so that we can resolve these things. Because these matters can be resolved. Because let me tell you something. It's not cool passing on laid up in some nursing home or laid up in some home where people are renting rooms. That's not cool. You look around, you're surrounded by strangers. And the majority of the time, those strangers are just like you. Just like you. They're rejected by their families because of the way that they've treated their families. Me? I tell people, by me being a writer, this is just my personal desire in terms of my death. As odd as that may sound, I don't really care how you think about it. But I always tell people, when I pass away, they're going to find me slumped over my computer, and I'm going to have been working on something. But when I close my eyes for the last time, whether it's something random, or whether someone takes my life, whether it's on a plane, or if I check out of here by way of a automobile accident, as long as I know that I am right with my 2 sons and everyone in my life, I'm going to rest in peace. If I'm suffering my last years or days or months laying there in my home, I would rather be surrounded by all the people that I love and love me. So unless all of those things are established during times, and if you have some discompatibilities with anyone in your life, primarily your children, and if they're asking you questions and giving you opportunities, can we talk about this so that this whole thing can be healed? I would suggest that you go for that. Because if you don't, they will let you go. They will let you go. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with everyone. And so I'm going to have to get out, because there's a guy outside. You probably can hear it. He's out there doing his job, cleaning up the landscape of the building. But I wanted to deal with that. I know this video was long, but hey, whatever, this was important, and I'm most likely going to do a follow-up video on this subject. So I will just consider this as being part 1. But just again, as parents that have wronged their children, understand that all of those things that you've done wrong to your children, and once they become adults, understand one of the reasons why they are the way towards you that they are, and the strain that it takes of them still trying to love you in the way that they know that they should love you, but they can't love you like that because of the wrong that you've done to them. And so you've done them wrong, not only by what you've done in the past, you've done them wrong because the instinctive love that is sitting up inside of them has been altered by the way that you didn't establish the type of love that you were supposed to establish inside of them to go in harmony with that instinctive love, by you being the parent that you were supposed to be towards them. That's the way it operates. So all of this forgiveness stuff, no. You can't establish forgiveness without resolving your issues. Now, the Christian will lie straight to your face and tell you, I forgive you. But, or they say, I forgive you, I forgive you. They're lying. Anyone that comes to you and say, I forgive you though, that's all right, but stay away from me. That's not forgiveness. Have you sat down and you both talked about what happened? No, we ain't talk about it, but I just forgive them. You can't forgive anyone until you sit down and you talk about what happened. And you both love each other enough to not agree to disagree. And you go your separate ways. You have to sit at that table and you have to agree to agree. We are going to get to the bottom of this, no matter how long it takes us to sit at this table. And if I can't understand that what I did to you was wrong, please help me understand how what I did to you was wrong, so that we can get past this, so that we can grow, and so that we can enjoy this life together, loving each other and having the type of relationship that the Creator and the universe established us to have. That's what it's about. That's exactly what it's about. So I'm going to end this portion of the video with saying that if there's anything as a parent that you have not resolved with your children, I would suggest that you get past yourself and resolve it. If there's any open and bleeding wounds that are going on inside of you, or if you inflicted wounds in someone else that you know that they're bleeding on the inside, who have this need to talk about how you've harmed them, get past yourself. Take responsibility for what you did. Take accountability for what you did and resolve this issue so that this whole forgiveness thing can take place. That's the only way it's going to happen. That's the only way it's going to happen. Just saying, I forgive you, that's a bunch of bullshit, you know? And if anybody thinks that it's that easy, I'm telling you today that it's not. It's not that easy. We have to get together. We have to talk about these things. And we have to be honest with one another. We have to put it all on the table. If you were abused when you was a kid, then tell me you were abused when you was a kid. And tell me, how did that change your outlook in life? And then you're going to have to justify, if you saw that as abuse, and if you saw that it was wrong, then why did you inflict it upon me if you knew that what was done to you was wrong? Now, that's a whole different subject right there. If I know that what I've done then of what was done to me was wrong, then why am I doing it to you? Because obviously you didn't think that what was done to you was wrong. Obviously you thought that what was done to you was correct. That's why you're doing it to me. So I would think that people who have been abused, you're either going to recognize that what was done to you was wrong, and you decide inside of yourself that you're not going to do it because you perceived it as wrong. But if you choose to abuse others because you were abused, then you can't look at what was done to you, as far as your understanding, was abuse. Obviously wasn't. Those people were your teachers because they taught you how to treat others. So you can't say this person abused me. Don't say that that was your abuser. That was your teacher. Because you took what they taught you and you're giving it to someone else. So I'm going to end this video on this note. And the next video, I'm going to deal with some more issues in reference to my relationship with my father and my mother. And being a child, growing up, not having any knowledge of either side of the family. However, you're both people's punching bag. Now, Pete may say, well, this is a 58-year-old man. Why is he tripping? I don't care what you fools think. I don't care. I'm concerned about the information getting out. That's what I'm concerned about. Okay? How you people think and how you feel today, it means absolutely nothing to me. This is the reason why I'm doing this. I'm concerned about the people out there who suffered this. I'm not concerned about your madness. You can take your madness somewhere else. So with that being said, I'm going to end this video right here because there's some things that I have to do today. And like I say, I'm going to do a follow-up video on this subject. So with that being said, I hope everybody, I hope someone got something out of this. And stay human and peace. This is the second part of the There Can Be No Forgiveness Without Resolve. So I'm just gonna go into a few things on how our past, leaving things in the past in very sensitive and serious areas, if those issues of your past are not resolved in those very vital and important areas, when you move forward without resolving those things, even if you are away from the person that you never resolved those issues with, the unresolved issues are being carried with you because you don't have any fulfillment inside or peace of mind, pretty much. And so I'm just going to go into a few more things. But before I start on that, there was just a question that one of my lady friends on Facebook who saw that first portion of the video, she had asked me about my grandmother and her passing away of tuberculosis at the age of 27 years old. And I have a bad habit of not mentioning dates when I should, mention dates, but, not to make any excuses, but the reality is I'm just new at this YouTube thing. I'm pretty much new at it, and I'm not trying to pretty much gain anything from it. But like I said before, I've experienced a whole lot of things, and I've been through a whole lot of things, and I believe that my life is full of a whole lot of lessons in areas there that most people find uncomfortable to talk about. And by me being a man not afraid to talk about certain issues in life, I feel that I could be of a good use to people in certain areas. So yeah, but my grandmother on my mother's side, she had passed away at the age of 27 years old of tuberculosis. And the year that she passed away was 1949. She passed away while she was in Chicago, and while she was married to her second husband. From what my mother had told me, my grandmother had a smoking habit, and she had told me that before she had left Atlanta and relocated to Chicago, she had stopped smoking. But once she got into Chicago, she married my granddad, and that marriage didn't work out. And she got remarried, and she started smoking again. And so I don't know if that's the reason why she passed away so young. Even though when you do look at the causes of tuberculosis, it does say the abuse of substances could cause tuberculosis. Tuberculosis. Now, back in 1949, they didn't have a cure for tuberculosis, and so she wasn't able to be treated for it. So, unfortunately, that's another reason why she suffered from it. But with answering that, yes, she died in 1949 while my mother was just 7 years old. Okay. Now, I want to take you into my the issue with my father. Now, I had a whole lot of issues with my father, primarily because I had loved my father so much. And what was evil about it is that he knew how much that I loved him. Some parents know how much their children love them, but you do have those parents out there who really don't care about that. As a matter of fact, they pretty much use that to their advantage. And sometimes, unfortunately, when a parent knows that their child loves them tremendously, for some sick reason, that encourages a parent to feel as though they can just disrespect them and treat that child any other way because they figure the child's gonna love them, or they just don't care about how much the child loved them. I mean, it covers a lot of areas. Some parents say, yeah, I know he or she loves me a whole lot, but I don't care. Or a parent can say, yeah, I know he or she loves me tremendously, and this is the reason why I treat them the way that I treat them, because they're going to love me regardless. I mean, there are some sick people out there like that. But I tell a lot of people that by me coming up in Chicago, Illinois, I didn't smoke, didn't drink, didn't do drugs, didn't gangbang. I was good in school. I've never even suffered detention, and what used to always confuse me was that I never gave neither one of my parents any type of um, disturbances, no stress or anything. They never had a problem with me, never. They never had to keep coming up to the schools, checking on me in reference to bad behavior. They never had to bail me out of jail. They never had to visit me in jail. They never had to worry about me um, on a streets of Chicago getting into gangs or anything like that. So when you feel as though that you are the ideal child, when your parents start um, abusing you, that makes a child say, well, what's going on? Why are you treating me like this if I'm not doing anything to provoke such behavior towards me? And when you're young, you suffer with that level of curiosity, especially when you have parents that are not going to tell you why, because some parents just don't care. They just don't care. And they expect you to be their punching bag. And so as time goes on, I'm trying to move forward as much as possible because I don't want this video to be too long. So as time goes on, you want to get to know your father, because I wanted to get to know my father at the age of 17, and it didn't turn out well. I mean, the man was so disrespectful and rude and just pretty much everything. I mean, if I told you everything that I suffered with this man, this video will probably be 3 days long, and I'm fumbling over my words because I'm moving too fast, and so I'm going to relax a little bit and slow down. So as time went on, I was always asking myself, before I had a chance to ask someone related to him, what happened to this man? And he never took me down south to Arkansas to meet his family. I recall very little bit of when my parents were down in Arkansas, and I have a very fainted and small memory of being down there. But it's really nothing that I can really tell you about, other than just being able to look through my grandmother's floor and see chickens running around, and me seeing something that looked like a big dog, and my grandmother on his side was petting it. My mother was holding me, had me up on her hip, and as I got older, when I had mentioned that to my mother, she said, "No, that wasn't a dog. That was a horse that your grandmother was petting." But that's all the memory that I have. But as time goes on, you see the behavior of your father towards you, and by you saying, "What am I doing to warrant this type of behavior? I'm not giving this man any problem." So when you keep questioning that, as you grow older and you mature more, and your level of intelligence starts to expand, your curiosity expands along with your intelligence, and so you start asking questions. What made this man this way? Who made him this way? Now, from what I was told, I don't know what year this was, but they said that he was like between 16 and 17 years old. He was in the fields with my grandfather out in the South. Now, from what I was told, him and his father, who was my grandfather, of course, didn't have a very good relationship. I was told that my dad was very lazy. And so this is another reason why him and my grandfather used to get into it out there in the South, because my grandfather, um, um, they had a farm out there, so maybe my grandfather was a sharecropper. I mean, that's just a guess. No one ever told me that he was a sharecropper. I really don't know. I really don't know. But I do know they live in Little Rock, Arkansas, and they have some property down there that they have to attend to, just like most people have to attend to their property down there in the South. And so, one time, from what I was told, those two had got into a dispute in the field. And one day, my father got frustrated and he said that he was leaving. This is while they were in the midst of the field. And so my grandfather told him, if you leave, ain't no need of coming back here. You keep going. And so my father, he walked out of the field and he kept going. And so he packed his stuff. And according to my aunt, her and some of his other sisters were begging him not to leave, but nevertheless, he left anyway, and he went north to Chicago. And as time went on, he got into a singing group with some guys that he met, and it was a gospel singing group called the Traveling Kings. And so he went around Chicago and he was singing. And by my father being such a very attractive man, as a matter of fact, he favored the late singer Prince a lot. Rest in peace, Brother Prince. And so he was a very attractive man. He was still, until this day, from what I know, was a phenomenal singer. I mean, anytime you can sit there and listen to your father sing and you say, damn, that man can sing, and that says a lot for your ability to sing when your son can sit there and it's like, my dad can blow. He was a phenomenal singer. And so they sung for a long time, him and his group, the Traveling Kings, gospel music. And so he started going to this church called Mount Zion First Holy Miracle Baptist Church. Now, Mount Zion was founded in 1966. It's on the 956 West 119th Street in Chicago, Illinois. I don't recall the first name of the founding pastor, and I really don't recall their first and last name. Maybe I should have did some research on that. But the man who founded the church ended up being his father of his second wife, Josie Brayborn, who gave me two stepsisters, Jennifer and Kim. So okay, he was singing in a group called the Traveling Kings. He joins his church. He gets in a choir. At some point in time, he decided he wanted to preach. And so he graduated from the choir at Mount Zion after gaining a close relationship with the pastor there. He graduated from the choir and he became a deacon of Mount Zion. He started preaching in the church. And so he started dating my stepmother, Josie. And so when you're in the church, if the people are going to know that you two are dating, it has to be going towards marriage. That's expected of the congregation, or that's expected of the common church rules. And so by him knowing this, gets into a relationship with my stepmother, Josie, through permission of her father, who was the pastor of the church at the time. And so he ends up marrying Josie. And to secure his position, he has 2 daughters by her. Now, by him being married to the pastor's wife, when that pastor passed away, which he did, he passed away right there in the pulpit while he was preaching. Who is next in line to be the pastor of Mount Zion First Holy Miracle Baptist Church? It is him. I recall when all of this transpired, my father coming by my great-grandmother's home, and I'm standing there in the living room just looking out the window, and I'm listening to him talking to my great-grandma in the kitchen, and how happy he was, and how now I'm the pastor of Mount Zion now. And my great-grandmother was congratulating him and everything. And so I'm like, wow, so now he's a preacher now. And so as I got older, when I tried to get to know him, and I saw how very rude and disrespectful he was towards me, and I saw how very gracious and righteous he was towards everyone in church, I'm like, okay. Now I see how he made certain moves, calculating moves, in order to become the pastor of Mount Zion First Holy Miracle Baptist Church. And so when all of this was going on, at 17 years old, I wanted to get to know my dad. And so during that process, everything was fine at first, and then all of a sudden he just started treating me like trash. You know, he didn't like the way I wore my hair, because my hair was long. It just seemed like anything and everything about me he just didn't like. And I'm like, well, you've never been around me. I'm just trying to get to know you. Can we just get to know each other? And I wanted to meet my grandparents on his side, and for some reason he refused that. He took everyone down there. My 2 stepsisters, of course, my oldest sister Becky, he took her down there. Even my stepbrother Terrell, and I don't say even to um, assert that my stepbrother Terrell has less substance than me. But considering the way Terrell was brought into the world, and I'm gonna have to tell you about that before I go forward. When my mother and him was married, and my mother was 6 months pregnant with me, across town he got another woman pregnant, and this is where my stepbrother Terrell Cancer come from, who was but 6 months younger than me. And so that's how Terrell came into the picture. Shout out to Terrell Cancer, the funniest person that I've ever met in my life. Terrell ain't got no sense, y'all. Terrell is crazy. He is the funniest person that I've ever talked to in my life. Shout out to my brother Terrell. Love you, bro. And so he took Terrell down there. Terrell met everyone. And all my life, he never took me down to meet his people down there in Arkansas, but he took everyone else. Now, a lot of people may look at this video and say, well, I'm pretty certain he had his reason for why he didn't take you down there. I wish I would have known, because until this day, I don't even know why. So, you know, there's no reason. I mean, who are you that I have to lie to you? You ain't tough that I have to lie to you. You know, I'm just making this video to try to help people understand some things, and some things that I'm basically working my way towards in order for me to express. So it had got to the point where I ended up living with him and his family, because my great-grandmother had passed, and like I said in the other video, the family scattered. I was living with my mother and her boyfriend for a little while, until her and her boyfriend had broke up because some things was going on. And so I ended up living with him. But as time went on, I recall one day, I was coming out of my bedroom after I had moved in with him, and I heard my stepmother, Josie, and him in the living room talking. And I never heard him talk the way that he talked. You know, he sounded different. And so when I went into the living room to see what was going on, he was talking about my grandpa and how sick he was, and that he was very sick. And so for confirmation, moving too fast. And so I noticed that when him and my stepmother was going back and forth, I noticed that in the midst of him saying something, he cut it off. He shook his head like this, and he just dropped his head. He just started walking back towards the back of the house. And so I looked over at my stepmother, and I'm like, what's going on? She said, his dad is dying. His dad is dying. And I'm like, oh, okay. Did you hear the language? His dad is dying. Did you hear my response? Oh, okay. Damage. Okay. What I noticed is that he didn't share that information with me. So I couldn't support my father. He couldn't share that information with me because he knows that he never introduced me to my grandfather. So I didn't know him. And due to the fact that I didn't know him, when that news got to me that he was sick and he was on his way towards passing away, I didn't feel any grief. I'm like, oh, okay. See, just the knowledge of knowing that someone is your grandparent, that's not enough. You have to grow some type of relationship with them. So as time goes on, you cultivate an emotional connection and a psychological connection with them. You have to be able to sit down and talk to your grandfather, and shake your grandfather's hand, go down south and take walks with your grandfather, sit up and listen to your grandfather tell you stories about himself and even funny stories about your father when they was growing up. I'm just referring to these things because these are the things that I wish that I was able to experience. Now, wishing that I was able to experience those things doesn't imply that I'm emotional in terms of regret. My regret in that area is strictly intellectual. So there's no emotional grievance there. So I'm not in any stress. I don't have a stress element there. And so as time went on, after I ended up going to Job Corps in Edinburgh, Indiana. I believe it was 1996. My grandfather had passed on his side, and I never knew anything about it. No one called me and told me anything. And so when people ask me, how did that make you feel when you got that information? I'm going to go into something else. And I'm like, how am I supposed to feel? I didn't know him, And so people ask me, well, David, how did it feel that no one called you and told you that your grandfather on your dad's side passed? It's not their fault. It was his responsibility to call me. But even if he would have called me and told me your granddad passed, how would that have made him feel to hear me on the other side of the phone not showing any type of emotion about it? I mean, I didn't know him. And it's not my fault that I didn't know him, and I'm not trying to cultivate a blame, but the fact is you never introduced me to this man, and so I didn't know him. You took that from me. You know what I'm saying? You took that from me. Now, in a sense, that's a good thing, and in a sense, it's not. Now, people may say, well, how was that a good thing? It's because when he took that from me, what he did take from me in that neglect was he saved me a lot of pain for grieving the death of my grandfather. As eccentric as that understanding may sound, the reality is I never had to grieve my grandfather on my father's side. Now, going forward, I used to drive the bus out here in Las Vegas. I recall one day in 2002, I'm driving. I'm doing this route It's called the 214. And the 214, for those of you who know, is the bus route that goes through the west side of Las Vegas, where most of the black people live over there. And so um, by me being friends with the Nation of Islam, and I know a lot of pastors over there, and I was so interested in doing something with the youth over there, because I used to um, take young guys go get their hair cut and stuff like that. I used to try to help out wherever I could. And so I wanted to do the 214 route because I knew everybody over there, and everybody knew me, So I would say like 85% of the people on the west side of Las Vegas knew me, and I knew them because I used to go around and speak in churches, and like I said, I was very close with the Nation of Islam, as I am today. Shout out to the Mosque 75, ministered by Minister Duke Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, brother. And so one day as I was driving downtown, my cell phone rings, and I pick it up because I was at a red light. And so, if you're a bus driver and you hear this, we ain't supposed to be on our phone while we're driving a bus. But I answered it, and it was my mother. And she said, what are you doing right now? I said, I'm at work. And she said, are you sitting down? I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm sitting down. I'm driving a bus. She said, well, when are you going to take your break? She said, because I have something very important I need to tell you. And I'm like, I'm on my way downtown right now. I said, what's up? She said, just call me back when you get downtown. She said, because this is important. I said, okay. So when I got downtown, I called my mother. And she said, I need to tell you something. I said, what is that? She said, your grandmother passed away. Your dad's mother passed away. And she paused. I said, hello? She said, I'm here. She said, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, Mama. What do you mean? She said, I just told you your grandmother passed. I said, right. I said, Mama, I'm confused. I said, how am I supposed to feel? I said, I didn't know her. I said, he never took me down there to meet my grandmother. He forbade me to meet my grandparents while they were living. I talked to my grandmother only twice on the phone my whole life. Just twice. And so she passed away in 2002 of stomach cancer. And my granddad, when he passed away, I don't know why he passed away, but from what I was told, he was an alcoholic. I don't know how true that is, but my grandmother told me one time that he used to drink a lot, and one time he struck her. And so, yes, he had a drinking problem. And so, after she gave me this information, I'm like, Mama, I was telling her, I said, Mama, he put me in a position to where I feel very confused about this. I said, I don't feel conflicted, Mama. I said, I feel confused. Maybe I feel confused because everyone is expecting me to respond in a certain way, but I'm not able to respond in that common way because I didn't know her. I didn't have, as I said before, an emotional and psychological relationship or attachment with neither one of my grandparents. I didn't know her. I said, and she passed away 2 weeks ago. I said, and you're just telling me now. She said, well, I just found out. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, thanks for telling me, Mom. And we went on to talking about something else. So there's a lot of ways that you can cause damage inside of someone. Now, you have the damage that is traumatizing emotionally and psychologically. And you also have the type of damage that is psychological and emotional that isn't traumatic. However, it's more intellectual on the knowledge that you are not able to grieve for your grandparents against the reality that it is very common to be able to grieve the passing of your grandparents. So that was another way, through his neglect, for some reason, I didn't have to grieve the passing of my grandmother. And so I never mentioned it to him. Now, as time went on, I'm leading to something. As time went on, when I became, I believe it was 47 years old at the time, I met his sister, my aunt Uriel, for the first time out here in Las Vegas. This was back when I was working at the Rio. And so I'm at my station, and this very nice Hispanic supervisor that I saw not too long ago, his name is Fidel. I used to call him Ricky Ricardo, because he favored Ricky Ricardo so much. She came to the Rio and she was searching for me. And so I saw Fidel walking towards me, and he had this short woman, about 5 feet tall, who was my aunt, who was my dad's sister, and she was with another one. And so he's walking, he said, David. And I turned around and he said, your family's here to see you. I'm like, my family? And so I looked, and I just knew. I knew, because my aunt Early, or Uriel, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying her name wrong, but Early, I think that's how you say it. She looks a lot like my older sister, Becky. And the women in my family, on his side of the family, they are all very short, because my grandmother was only 5 feet tall. But they're very beautiful, attractive women. They're just little bitty women. And so when I met her, we talked, and I was able to express to her And I've always, once we had a chance to sit down and talk, I asked her, what's this man's problem? Because of the way he treats me. I don't get it. And so um, we made plans to meet up. And so when we met up for lunch, I believe we were at Caesar's Palace. We were sitting down, and at the time, I was in a relationship with this woman named Sandra Levi, and so Sandra went with me, and so my aunt had pictures of my grandfather because I never seen him before. I never even saw any pictures. I didn't even know what his name was. He didn't tell me anything about my grandparents. And so when she pulled out the pictures of my grandfather, when I saw his face for the first time, I just broke. I broke down. And she looked at me and she said, wow. She said, this is your first time seeing him? I'm like, yeah. I said, this is what I keep trying to explain to the family. A lot of damage has been done. I don't know anyone. I said, when you walked up on me, had you not looked so much like Becky, I wouldn't have known who you were. Fidel said, this is your family. I'm like, who? I wasn't introduced to anyone. So I get on the phone and I call him. I said, hey, Daddy, what's up? He said, hey, how you doing? I'm like, okay, I'm sitting here with Early. I said, and guess who I'm looking at? He said, who's that? I said, I'm looking at pictures of my granddad. He said, yeah? I'm like, yeah. He said, you never seen him? And I said to myself, I told him, I'm like, no, Daddy, this is the first time that I've ever seen pictures of him. I said, what was his name? He said his name was Isaac. Mind you, I'm 47 years old. I'm 47 years old. This is my first time seeing pictures of my grandpa. And this is my first time ever knowing my grandfather's name. And you're the type of young man who grew up on the south side of Chicago, as I say again. No smoking, no drinking, no drugs. You did well in school. No gangbanging, no sleeping around, no going to jail, no detention, nothing. Okay? But I was neglected of meeting my own grandparents. And so as time went on, when I made 50 years old, he wanted me to come to a family reunion down in Arkansas. And I told him I'm not interested in coming to a family reunion. I said, I don't know these people. I don't know them. I only met just your sister, and outside of your sister, the only other person I know is my Uncle Carl, who is his brother. That's it. That's all I know of his family. And so he said, well, that's what it's for, so that you can meet everyone. I said, Daddy, I am 50 years old. I said, you should have took me down there to meet everybody while I was coming up. I said, this may offend you. This may sound rude. This may sound evil or selfish, but I don't know those people. It's not going to be a reunion for me, because when I meet these people, I'm going to they're going to come up to me, and there's not going to be, oh, I miss you so much. Oh, it's so nice seeing you again. Now I will look around and everyone else will have that privilege. That is the reunion. I was explaining this to him. I said, and so what do y'all do when y'all meet up? He said, well, we all meet up and we catch up and we eat, and then everybody get together and we go to the cemetery to visit mom and dad. I said, so you prevented me from meeting my grandparents while they were living. So now you're telling me, after all of these years, to come to a family reunion, to meet some people who I should have met years ago. And so now I'm supposed to go to the cemetery and stand next to you and let you point to the ground and tell me that was your grandmother and that was your granddad. And I'm having this information in my head that I could have met them while they were living. I'm not going to let you do that to me. Oh, no, bro. I'm not going to let you do that to me. I'm not going to stand over those people's grave and look down at their grave knowing that I could have and I should have met them while they were living. And also having this knowledge that I never did or said anything to prevent meeting them. And then when I asked you, how come you never took me out there to meet them? You have no answers for me. I'm not going to let you do that to me. So I never went to any family reunion because I figured, what for? I don't know these people. I'm 50 years old now. And if I were to meet my aunts who were his sisters, and hi, I'm your aunt this and I'm aunt that, it's not going to mean anything. Hello, they know of me, but I don't know of them. And so how am I going to how would I respond? How would I respond without people getting offended, And so how would I respond? So you never know, that might have put me in a position to where if anything was negatively said about me, by me not knowing them and knowing how to respond to them, maybe what was so-called negatively said about me, it just may have manifested through my response to them, like, who are you? I don't know you, and being put in that position is disrespectful. Okay. Through the years, he has never had anything pleasant to say about me, whether towards me or anyone else. I mean, I could tell you some things. Him and I had a fist fight one time and I almost killed him. And this was on New Year's Eve. And I found out that my older sister was behind all of that. But I don't need to go into that. But he would have died had my friend Vince not had been there, because not only was he not around a lot in my life, I just felt like this man don't have, he hit me, over something stupid. And unless you've been in my life as a father, somebody who hasn't been in my life. And when he was in my life, he might as well have not been. And when you put your hands on me, I'm going to do whatever I can to take you out. Okay? I'm not going to have no compassion, because not only that, I don't really have any compassion when I fight people anyway. You know, I have no compassion, none whatsoever. None. And so it's been a rough ride. And like I say, there's a lot more things, but mainly what I'm working towards is that there's all roots of him not resolving his issues with his father. When he walked out of that field and he went north to Chicago, he was a wounded soul. Okay. And what he did, he brought all of that. And when he married my mother, by both of them coming from dysfunctional elements, that marriage was doomed to fail anyway. But due to the fact that he did not resolve his issues with his father, when he walked out of those fields, as I said, and when he went north to Chicago, all of the anger and the resentment, he didn't do anything but dump all of that on a son that never did anything to offend him, never did anything to dishonor him. Anything to dishonor him. And so we struggled through the years, and no matter how much love and respect that I demonstrated to him, he just couldn't hold it together. And it's only because some unresolved issues that he had with his past. Even if he don't realize it. And you know, the mistake that we make is that, I'm pretty sure a lot of you can agree with this, not every one of our pains have to totally identify with what happened in our past intellectually. Sometimes when we have pains inside and we react through those pains towards other people and in other situations and other experiences, the rage and the zeal that surges through us is rooted in the past. Even if what's happening presently is indifferent than what happened in the past, that pain is still there, that started in the past. So you can't respond adequately if you are rooted in the past. And this is the reason why I tell everybody, unless you resolve your issues of the past, the only thing that's going to happen is, in a lot of instances, you are going to betray your own present because of unresolved issues of the past. And that's just a fact. That's just a fact. And so, like I said, when he didn't resolve his issues with his father, he took it out on his son. And by me not wanting to repeat that, I tried years, so long, to resolve him and I issues, but for some reason he ends up being the same human being as he's always been. And so this is one of the reasons why I was telling people sometimes you just have to let people go. If they don't want to sit and talk about the issues simply because you didn't provoke any of these issues, sometimes you have to let them go. Now, the last time that I talked to this man was like close to 4 years ago. I'm on the phone with him and we're talking. All of a sudden, just out of the blue, like the whole bastard thing, he brings up that he had went in my bag. Oh, I know how this came up. This came up when we had brought up that night that we had that fight, and I was trying to explain to him who provoked it, who was my older sister, Becky. And so he was saying, no, I went over there and I went in your bag and there were some Playboy books in your bag. So I had to get those books out of the church. And I'm like, Playboy books? I said, I would never walk around with Playboy books in my bag. He said, yes, you did. I had to get those Playboy books out of the church. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, Daddy, I'm not the type of dude. I don't walk around with Playboy books in my bag. Yes, you did. And he's saying this in front of his third wife. Third wife. And I heard her in the background. Is that true? Oh, really, huh? And I wanted to say, bitch, this ain't gonna have nothing to do with you. I'm talking to him. And this is a bald-faced lie. What are you talking about? And see, he's starting to suffer from dementia. And I'm like, what is he talking about? You know, and people who suffer from that, they take little parts, you know, you might as well say fragments of experience, and they splice them together, and they create these weird experiences that are not accurate, and they speak these, and you like, what are you talking about? That didn't happen? He said, yeah, I had to get them Playboy books, you know. And I told my dad, look, let me tell you something. I said, number one, considering what your daughter, see, because he had rented an apartment that was above the church. See, because Mount Zion has 2 apartments up there. One above the church in the front and one in the back. My sister lived in the one in the back. And so he said that I had Playboy books. I'm like, Daddy, let me tell you something. If you knew what was going on in her apartment above your church, I think you would be able to properly determine where those Playboy books may have came from. I said, but I didn't have no Playboy books in my bag, because my sister used to have orgies up there. You know, I counted 9 guys in 1 week that came by. And my nephew, my oldest nephew, had told me one night him and his brother was in their bedroom and they looked outside in the living room, and my sister and some of her friends were out there having an orgy. This was right above Mount Zion First Holy Miracle Baptist Church. So I told him that if you found Playboy books in my bag, there's a very good chance your daughter put them there. I said, because I never walked around with any Playboy books in my bag. Number one, I didn't have to. Okay. Because anytime I wanted to see a naked body, all I had to do was just go knock on one of my female friends' doors. So I didn't have to sit up and look at porn, or look in a Playboy book. I mean, why sit up and watch porn when I can be somewhere having sex? You know what I'm saying? I would rather be having sex than to be sitting up looking at it. But we don't want to get into that. And so I told him, no, I'm not going to accept that unless it's a fact. I'm not the type of man, I'm not going to say it's true if it's not. And you could put a gun to my head and say it is true. I'm going to look you right in your eyes while you got that gun to my head and say, no, it is not. Well, I'm going to kill you. Pull the trigger. And so he got angry that I didn't say, okay, Dad. So I told him, no, it's not true at all. He said, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. It is not true. I said, and just because you daddy and all of that, it is absolutely not true. His last words to me until this day was, fuck you. I'm like, okay. And he hung up the phone. Now, after so many years, I felt so liberated. After so many years, I felt so liberated. Because I knew that when I heard that, I'm like, it's time to let him go. Because even after he came to Las Vegas and did what he did, as far as me mentioning that in the other video, now fuck me. Okay, I'm done. Gotta let you go. Because now he's suffering from dementia. Now he's coming up with all these strange stories. No. But when you slither your way into a position to be a pastor of the church and you abuse what the Creator gave you, which is your mind, and you abuse people, whatever you misuse, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it. You're going to lose it. And so it all comes from the fact that he did not resolve his issues with his father. He cut me out of meeting my grandparents on his side. And so, again, I encourage everyone, if you have anything with anyone that you need to resolve, try to resolve it. That's the only way you're going to be able to forgive them. That's the only way. It's the only way it's going to happen. You have to sit and talk about it. Because when you have parents who are just irresponsible and rude and disrespectful, they will try to poison your life for the rest of your life, to the degree if you are not very much aware of how that's going to affect you and your relationships with everyone whom you come in contact with, you're going to fail. You're going to fail every time. And so had I not come to know the importance of what letting go meant, then I would be around here right now, abusing people. Had I allowed my pain and frustrations with him shape and mold me by the way of allowing them to affect me, I would have went down a path that would have been not beneficial to me nor anyone else. I'm not saying that I haven't made mistakes, because I made plenty of mistakes. Plenty of mistakes. Okay. I've been with a couple of women that I hurt very much. But I even resolved my issues with them because it was just the right thing to do. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Simple as that. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. You know, I'm not so big that I can't apologize, because when you apologize, that's when you're a man. When you do people wrong and you refuse to apologize, you can't tell me you're a man. You can't tell me you're a human being. And like I tell a lot of people in reference to him, it really doesn't matter if you are a pastor of a church for 35 to 40 years. It really doesn't matter if those in your church community look at you as a man of God and all of that stuff. Doesn't mean anything. If your own children cannot look at you and say that's a man of God, then you ain't no man of God to nobody. If you are not a good person to your children, then you ain't a good person to nobody. Nobody. You can get up there and you can preach. You can do whatever you have to do, whether you're a preacher or speak in any area of where people expect you to demonstrate high moral standards. And even if you do demonstrate those high moral standards to other people, that means nothing. If your children, or if your wife, or if your family do not see you in the same light that the world sees you in, it don't mean anything. It means nothing at all. So I'm not gonna harp on this too much, because I really didn't expect the video to be this long. But I would end this by saying, whatever issues you have with someone, as long as you're alive and as long as they're alive, there is an opportunity to resolve your differences. It's going to make you both feel better. Because let me tell you something, there's a whole lot of us walking around with a lot of internal pains that are very quiet, very quiet. And then sometimes you have those instances where you come upon a situation to where you react a certain way instead of responding. And after the whole thing is over with, you like, man, why did I react that way? It's because there's some internal stuff that you need to get together. You have to face it. That's why I spend a lot of time meditating, you know. And it's like me, I'm a very reserved man. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not an angry man, because I am. I'm an angry person. I'm an angry human being. But that doesn't imply that I walk around angry and rigid all the time. No. The only time that people know that there's some anger, some intense anger there, is when I get into a physical altercation. And the level that I take it, and by me being a trained boxer and a martial artist, the intensity that I put into my fighting, people know like there's something going on with that dude, because I mean, he goes there. I mean, he really goes there. I mean, he tries to kill people, you know. And so that's why I meditate a whole lot, and I'm very attentive to my surroundings. I'm very attentive to my surroundings because I know myself, and I don't say that I know myself in a sense to where I haven't put forth any effort of resolving that level of anger in me. So I'm not proud of it. I'm not boasting of it. I, I'm very much aware that that could destroy me one day if I don't allow it to die. And the way that you allow it to die is that if you come upon an altercation to where even if you do have to physically protect yourself and assault somebody, keep in mind that, okay, you're there. However, control the rage. You don't have to kill anyone. You don't have to kill anyone. So it is something that you can control. It is something that you can control. And so, as I always say, with all of this being said, resolve your issues. Sit down and talk about your issues. If you are dealing with people who are not interested in resolving your issues and therefore giving you freedom or fulfillment or anything like that, then you have to learn the art of letting go. And it's not a difficult art. Letting go implies accepting the reality for what it is, knowing that this reality makes you feel and think a certain way, understanding what self-love is, because certainly you love yourself so much that you don't want to spend the rest of your days walking around grieving. So love yourself enough to let it go. Or like Brother Snoop Dogg says, drop it like it's hot. Just drop it like it's hot. Move forward. Shout out to Brother Snoop Dogg, but drop it like it's hot and move forward. Because let me tell you something. Anger will destroy you. And in some areas, anger will liberate you. So anger itself is not something bad. It's all about where you are demonstrating or executing this anger. Because not all anger is bad. Not all anger. I mean, it's just like they say the dark side. You know, in the movie Star Wars, you know, he's on the dark side. And it's not the dark side. And it's not evil itself. It's what's sitting up inside of the person who decides to utilize the dark side or what is considered evil. So good and evil are really only tools of expression. You just have to have a good heart and wisdom to know what to utilize those both gifts for, which is a whole nother subject, but I don't want to hold you too long again. But I just wanted to do this follow-up video as far as there can be no forgiveness without resolve. I just wanted to do this follow-up video on that subject, and I'm just going to close it out with saying, resolve all your issues, love yourself enough to let go, and understand the importance of remaining human, and therefore remaining humane, and therefore remaining a not only a member of humanity, but a student of humanity. And understand that never say that you got it figured out, because at the moment you say you got it, you lose it. So each day that we are given is a gift to learn more of ourselves and therefore one another. So with all of that being said, I will let you go. And hopefully some people got something out of this video. And as I always say, stay human. Please stay human. Peace.